Good morning, it's David Schlotthauer with a tropical update on Tropical Storm Bret for Tuesday morning, June 21st. As always, my thoughts in this video are mine alone, and making any decisions regarding Tropical Storm Bret, consult the National Hurricane Center and your local officials for the best information for where you are. Now, if you're new and you like these detailed tropical updates, hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, and leave a comment so you can get all my updates. So we're going to be spending quite a bit of time talking about Tropical Storm Bret, as there is now a tropical storm warning for St. Lucia Island, just south of Dominica, Martinique Island as well, near Barbados, as this is going to be getting inches closer today to the island there where that tropical storm warning has been issued. So this is a zoomed out view, and there's a lot going on. For one thing, Tropical Storm Bret has become better organized since last night, but not any better organized since recently. And interesting enough, we have a little bit of a minor tropical wave that went through some of the islands, bringing some showers and thunderstorms, but also gives us an idea what the atmosphere is actually doing out ahead of Tropical Storm Bret. We pay close attention to these cirrus filaments or to these thunderstorms. Not only do they collapse, but we're also seeing shear that is really beginning to increase out ahead of Bret. These cirrus filaments are kind of being blown out from the outflow from Bret's inner core, and we're also seeing some cirrus clouds moving inward into the system. We'll be looking at a closer zoomed in view here in just a bit. But right now, the environment out ahead of Bret does not look too bad, but it doesn't look very favorable either. So it's going to be a tug of war here of how much stronger can Bret get in the next, say, 18 to 24 hours before that shear really takes a hold. And then we're going to be focusing on Invest 93L. This is a closer zoomed in view on Tropical Storm Bret for this morning, and it's very interesting to see the satellite image. This might be daunting to see that, wow, we have good outflow, right? A lot of you might be thinking that, like, wow, we do have good outflow that is appearing in all quadrants, and that would otherwise mean a very favorable environment. But what we don't see is that there is several layers of the atmosphere. After all, the atmosphere is three-dimensional. And so what you're going to end up seeing here is the lower level cirrus clouds. See these cirrus clouds right here, and even some of them that are right close inward, they're undercutting the outflow. So we can see some of the cirrus clouds actually moving in like this. Some of the filaments, kind of follow me on that, some of these filaments coming out of this. So given the fact that the system is barreling it this way, or it's barreling, so it's moving towards the west, right? This is more of a westerly shear, even so we have a northwest flow at about, say, 20,000 feet or so above the surface, which makes this a westerly shear of about 20 to 30 knots now, which is getting on the border of becoming unfavorable for the system. Not only that, we also have quite a bit of dry air. These thunderstorms are also collapsing, creating some arcing bands right here, which indicate there is dry air and shear in the way of the system, and that will soon impede development, probably by this afternoon into the evening hours, something that we will keep monitoring in hours and days to come. So this is the water vapor satellite imagery, really illustrating where the dry air and shear actually is. See this dark patch of gray that you see to the northwest of the system? Kind of pay attention to where it's coming from right here. The outflow cirrus that you see, the milky white feathery cirrus, but pay attention underneath that. See this flow coming in and diving out of the northwest, and even some of that flow kind of coming in over here. Yeah, there's shear underneath this outflow. It doesn't seem like a lot, does it? But it only takes a little bit when you have a system that is trying its best at becoming better organized. And it's been attempting to do that, but each time it does, we get a collapsing of these thunderstorms, which we have recently had. Like, look how explosive this was earlier in the convective phase last night, and now it's more percolating. We'll see if we get another convective maximum later this afternoon that could fend off a little bit of that shear, since it has another 18 hours. theoretically in a favorable environment. But just taking note, we do have some dry air out ahead of this, including the shear that will soon force that drier air in. So here's a look at the text product from the National Hurricane Center. I'm going to read the first paragraph so this video doesn't take a whole lot of time, since we do have to cover 93L towards the end of the video. The whole entire paragraph and storyline to the system will be in the description below this video, where you can read more on it. So this is the 11 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Bret's cloud pattern continues to remain ragged, and cloud temperatures warmed a bit compared to earlier this morning. Since there has not been any appreciable increase in organization, the initial intensity will be held at 50 knots, which is a blend between the latest subjective numbers from SAB as well as the final T numbers from the ADT, which have been decreasing. An Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft is scheduled to investigate Bret in a few hours and should provide a better estimate of the storm's intensity and wind field size, which will be put into not only the NHC for my next video that I will show at about 4 o'clock this afternoon, but also this will be put into the 12Z model, or the 18Z GFS model runs, as well as the 0Z, which will be more important than anything else. All right, so that's a look at the text product, and we can see that the winds will be increasing up to 65 miles an hour within the next, say, 12 or so hours. So again, not much left with Bret as far as intensification goes. It's going to strengthen just a little bit more and then begin to level off. So this look at the latest look as far as, let me go to the right graphic, there we go, to the most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds, and we can see still expecting that to occur by Thursday night. So that's why there are tropical storm warnings issued for St. Lucia. Again, that is for St. Lucia under tropical storm warnings right now. Tropical storm watches have been issued for Dominica. If you are on some of these islands like Dominica, Martinique Island, as well as St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you're under tropical storm watches as well. So please take that seriously if you guys can. We're looking at tropical storm conditions, heavy rainfall, flooding, storm surge, maybe some mudslides and debris flows, perhaps on some of the islands. Yeah, not really debris flows, but you get the idea. Maybe some mudslides and things like that. The chances of tropical storm force winds have increased to 50%. So key messages for Bret is that Bret is forecast to approach the Lesser Antilles through Thursday morning and then move across those islands Thursday afternoon and Thursday night as a strong tropical storm, bringing a risk for flooding from heavy rainfall, strong winds, and dangerous waves along the coast. Given the uncertainty in the track and intensity forecast, it is too early to specify the location and magnitude of where Bret's associated hazards could occur. A tropical storm watch has been in effect for Barbados, Dominica, Martinique, and St. Lucia. See if this has updated, and it hasn't, for those and other islands in the Lesser Antilles today, with a tropical storm warning that has been issued, as noted here, on the main island there of St. Lucia. So please, again, a tropical storm warning means that you will see tropical storm-like conditions today, or not today, by Thursday afternoon into the evening hours. So a tropical storm warning needs to be taken more seriously. All right, and a tropical storm watch means tropical storm conditions are possible by Thursday. So winds at 60 miles an hour, and the movement is much slower at 14 miles an hour. So the system has slowed down a little bit. So when we take a look at our European global models here, this is more important than anything else because this provides you a great deal of confidence of what the models are thinking, and that will be reflected in my next couple of PowerPoints. So this is a look at the moisture plot at 700 to 300 millibars, so deep layer mid-level moisture plot. The brown colors do indicate drier air, but again, take note where that drier air is coming from. If we go back to the satellite, it is coming out of the northwest, so it is being shoved into the system already. And we can see that reflecting already in the European model for this afternoon, or for this morning. So going forward, we can see the system will become more or less organized probably. So by Thursday morning, it's going to be very lopsided. System is going to be very weighted on one side, so very asymmetrical, as again, this drier air coming in out of the north. If we go back, we can see how this drier air is going to be shoved inward because that shear that is encroaching onto the system, not the upper level outflow cirrus canopy. Do not let that fool you, folks. Shear is going to be undercutting that. So the atmosphere is in 3 dimensions. So one layer could be faster than the other, and that's what shear actually is. It's wind speed and change direction with height. Going forward here, we can see by Thursday night, I wish I can zoom in a little bit closer, but Tropical Tidbits doesn't allow that to happen. But here is, say, St. Lucia Island right here. There's Dominica, Martinique, and also for, say, if you are on Guadalupe or Guadalupe Island, that's the butterfly island, I call it. And we can see lots of moisture on the backside. So maybe the front quadrant where you get the strongest winds may impact you. The hazards will be very uniquely different. So first will probably be the wind, maybe some showers, and then the heavy rain and lesser wind do arrive afterwards with some storm surge along to go with that. And then the system really decouples. By the time we go, probably even into day 3, it really just kind of decouples from a lot of this moisture right here. So it might be raining for a few days over some of these islands while this disturbance is well off towards the west and away from these islands. So it's going to be a very interesting system with Bret, how it will evolve. Seeing 2 different impacts, winds first, then the rain that could linger a few days after. And then, of course, we got 93L, which we will look at briefly towards the end of the video, which that one could also be interesting in itself. So when we take a look here at our HAFSA parent model really quickly, we can see how the system all evolves. Take note again with the dry air that is in place coming in out of the northerly and northwesterly direction. The system is very asymmetrical, so it's weighted on one side because the shear that we talked about. And then by the 48-hour period or so by Thursday night, it arrives on, say, if you're on St. Lucia, Dominica, as well as Martinique. Going to bring in some strong winds there, along to go with some of the heavier rainfall, given how much moisture there is. And if we take a look here at how much moisture can be expected, yeah, that could be 2 to 5 inches of rainfall. Could be concentrated in a short amount of time, along to go with a short distance. So now that we looked at the models, let's take a look at our numerical guidance here, our spaghetti plot. And as you can see, pretty tightly clustered over the next 4 to 5 days, because now that we have a lot more confidence on who's going to get hit, that's why the NHC specifically went for a tropical storm warning for St. Lucia, because of how tightly bundled these models actually are. So we have very good confidence now today that St. Lucia especially could get hit the hardest by heavy rain, strong winds, and some storm surge. The intensity forecast with Bret is pretty much the same. If we actually make sure I didn't, okay, so I captured that. That was good. Let's go to full screen. There we go. So the intensity forecast with Bret is like so. We're going to see a little bit more strengthening, probably to about 60, maybe 65 of where it is right now. And then gradual weakening is expected, with more faster weakening by the time we go into day 3. So not much more strengthening is anticipated here. And my intensity forecast at the moment will call this to still become a 65 mile per hour tropical storm, given of what we're seeing right now. But it doesn't surprise me still if the system remains a 60 mile an hour system and it just peaks out at that level. All right, so back to the satellite imagery again here. Let's play this through so you all can see. So So now that we talked about Tropical Storm Bret, which is located over here, that's going to be impacting some of the Lesser Antilles, especially St. Lucia, we're going to briefly talk about now Invest 93L, which is right behind it. This still has my concern that it could get a little too close to the island. So we're going to keep you all updated for the time being as long as this remains a threat. So right now, it has an 80% chance, a high chance of tropical formation within the next 7 days. You can see the area highlighted here by the National Hurricane Center does illustrate where it might form. This is the area hatched in red. So when we take a look at Invest 93 model track guidance, being a little more simple on this one, we can see, again, some of the models here do bring it a little close to, say, Guadeloupe, some of the U.S. British Virgin Islands, say Kitts and Nevis, as well as portions there of Puerto Rico. So yes, there are some solutions that do bring this pretty close to the islands there of the Northern Lesser Antilles, while the other portion of the model guidance does bring this well away from the islands with indirect impacts like high waves, maybe some breezy winds, maybe some outflow, dominant storms that could rotate around the main center. So just keep that in mind. So some indirect impacts to possibly some more direct impacts with the solutions that are further west. So when you look at Invest 93L model intensity guidance, we can see that this does have a chance of becoming more like what Bret is, with winds that could peak between 40 to 65 miles an hour. My intensity forecast for the time being is on the lowest end of the scale, and right now I do forecast that this will become a tropical storm with winds that could range between about 40 to 50 miles an hour. So more of a low-end tropical storm at the moment, but we'll keep you updated because there are now two models that want this to become a Cat 1 hurricane within the next 3 or so days. Well, that's going to sum it up for this morning's tropical update on Tropical Storm Bret, and that we covered Invest 93L. I sure hope this video helped you out a lot. If it did, please consider subscribing and also staying up to date for my afternoon video as we look closer at Tropical Storm Bret. As it inches closer, we'll get new model data, including aircraft data that I will show in my next video. And all along to go with that, we will talk about Invest 93L, where it stands at that time. But otherwise, thank you all for watching, and I'll be back with you more this afternoon.